Well, for more on the tensions in the Gulf, I'm now joined by Mohammad Marandi. He's a professor at Tehran University as well as a political analyst. Mohammad, thank you very much for coming onto TRT World. Now, I want to get your take on how seriously is Tehran taking this latest tweet by the U.S. president, and is there any level of frustration to the White House over these mixed messages?
Well, Trump isn't the first person to make such outrageous statements. Hillary Clinton once said that threatened or implied that the United States could obliterate Iran. And I think basically what he does by doing this is he's proving to the international community and to all Iranians that the United States is simply not a regime, or the Trump regime is not an entity that the Iranians can negotiate with. His policies are extreme. His positions are constantly shifting and changing. And of course, he violates all agreements that, or any agreement that he doesn't like. So first of all, the Iranians already have an agreement with the P5+1, the nuclear deal. The United States left the agreement. The Iranians cannot negotiate with the Americans again unless they return to the agreement, because that would be appeasing the regime in Washington. And it would also be meaningless because the United States could tear up a future agreement after 6 months. So as long as Trump behaves like this, there's no reason to talk. The Iranians don't take this threat seriously because the Iranians know, and everyone knows, and the U.S. military knows, that all the oil and gas installations in the region are very vulnerable. If there is fighting, they will all be destroyed in the crossfire. That would lead to a global economic catastrophe, and that would be catastrophic for the United States. Millions of people would be on the move. The Saudi and Emirati regimes cannot last long, perhaps days, if at most weeks, without their oil exports. This is not a scenario that the United States could manage. And so the Iranians think that these are just empty threats, but it only weakens the U.S. But there is one danger, and that is that false flag operations could possibly be carried out through ISIS and Al-Qaeda and other such extremist groups that have been cooperating in the past with the United States, the Saudis, and the Israeli regimes. These countries, these regimes could use their assets in these organizations to carry out attacks and to put the blame on Iran.
Okay. Now, your characterization sort of plays into what the Iranian Foreign Minister Javad Zarif has said. And he said, quote, there will not be a war, since neither we want a war, nor does anyone have the illusion that they can confront Iran in the region. Now, but besides this rhetoric going back and forth, there have been some interesting developments in the region, whether it's the attacks on the Saudi oil pipeline last week, the U.S.'s withdrawal of non-essential staff in Iraq, now the rockets in the Green Zone in Baghdad. How do you see the developments in the region playing out?
Well, the Saudi and Emirati regimes are waging war against the people of Yemen for years now, for well over 4 years. And they're doing it, of course, and they're strangling the people of Yemen, forcing them into starvation with the help of the Canadian, the U.S., French, British, and German governments through their arms sales and their logistical support. So obviously the Ansarullah, the Yemeni armed forces, and the Houthis, they are going to resist. And their attacks on Saudi Arabia are a part of this resistance, or their potential attacks on the United Arab Emirates. These two regimes cannot expect to be able to massacre civilians on a daily basis, to force people into starvation and not face the consequences. And of course, Yemen is not a completely impoverished country. It has engineers, it has academics, and gradually their capabilities are evolving, and they're able to strike back at these two regimes with innovative methods.
All right, Mohammad Marandi, I'm afraid we're going to have to leave it there, but I do appreciate your take and your feedback. Thank you.